Welcome. Welcome to the Inspiring You Show. If we've ever met, I'm Henry. So, this is a mindful chat about the election last week in the US. So, my friends, the veil has been gently lifting and more so now than ever, revealing layers of truth that have been waiting to come forward. And, you know, in my experience in working with my guides, team of light, you know, in regard to being a human in this human experience on earth, they're always encouraging me to look at it from the lens of highest good. It's not right, wrong, good or bad. There's an isness. And a while back, during one of my meditation sessions, and I was, talking to my guides, and one of my guides is Jesus. He's been with me since I was a child. And so I was just asking a lot of questions. And one of the things that Jesus had said was, in regard to whether it's the US or elsewhere in the world, either either people are ready for progress or there's more healing work to be done. And so I understood, in terms of what that meant, yet also within that dynamic, understanding that in terms of the human experience, I was also really encouraged by my guide team to participate in regard to progress and, doing like my part in regard to wanting things to be moved in a progression point of bringing in more freedom. And so it's not really about like, one over the other, choosing one side or the other. It's really about in terms of progression and liberation and sovereignty. And so also within that, I was being guided to, join in different community groups regarding, supporting talking about Kamala Harris and things like that. And what's interesting is that it brought in a huge wave of healing for me. I didn't realize that it was really important for me to become reconnected to community in a greater way. And so, in my participating in different activities, I felt so inspired to be with people who really are what I feel genuinely want to create a society that is supportive of one another and also wants the best for one another and in different ways, and is very much talks about being inclusive and recognizing that we can have differences but yet also there's a lot of commonalities here, and how can we come to the table to start workshopping to actually then support one another in a greater way, and just bringing in more mindfulness too, and recognizing that things, it's just not right, wrong, good or bad. There's an isness here. And so, and really letting go for me, it's really how can we release ourselves from that patriarchal aspect of how things may have been created. And so the veil has been gently lifting, and more so now. One of the energy themes of this month is layers of transformation, which goes with, when Jesus was saying either, you know, the society's ready for progress or there's a lot more healing work to be done. So we're in another layer of transformation regarding where we are as a collective in the US in regard to the world, where we're in another layer of transformation, recognizing that, some of these lessons that are going to come up may not be, one person specifically, but it might be for some others. But also knowing that we're individuals in this collective experience, that, when these choices are made, we then as a society are then moving through this as an experience. And that's where then having tools for me come in, using tools, and also recognizing like there's a lot more going on here than we even understand. Yes, in terms of getting intuitive information, getting channeled wisdom and information, being guided, But there's things here that we also don't have all the information because that's also to beneficially protect us. So so that's where for me, I just get guided to using tools again and again and again. Like, where am I in the experience? What is beneficial? How do I stay, how do I stay more grounded and aligned? Oh wait, is my nervous system becoming dysregulated? What do I need to support myself? And so, again, this veil has been gently lifting and more so now, revealing layers of truth that have been waiting to come forward even more so. So, we're moving through a powerful phase where hidden stories, timeless wisdom, and deeper awareness are surfacing even more so. And this is then even more so of a transformative period where all these hidden insights, long buried stories, unspoken wisdom are surfacing, which then creates this powerful energetic shifts that are both incredibly awakening and electric. There last week, there was an incredible timeline shift that happened that not only did an immense amount of people have an opportunity for awakening, but people who have already experienced awakening, they then got even more so propelled, and it was like the mission became clear in terms of this love mission, if you will, in terms of understanding and all these codes of activations, these codes of awakening that have been being brought in from the cosmic energies. It is like it just activated inspiration in a whole greater way for people. It's like the energy around us is alive, as though inviting us even more so to awaken and perceive with clarity and openness. And so then the energy is really calling us each to see with our eyes, really shifting into our heart space, seeing with the eyes of our heart and soul. Yet with that though, the shift can bring both challenges and openings. So asking us to look inward, facing and recognizing also our individual shadows, and also recognizing that in each country in the world, there could be collective shadows. There could be there could be within your country, within the society that you're living with, there could be a societal shadow that's being called in to then be acknowledged, and what needs to be cleared to allow the light to come in to bring in a greater awakening and shifting. So recognizing our shadows, individual as well as anything from collective, questioning also the stories that we may have absorbed and carried. Yet truth is inherently liberating, where by embracing what is, that genuine, authentic, and asking us again and again, asking ourselves what is real and clearing the illusion within ourselves and also within the world, we release from the illusions that no longer serve our path, that have been weighing us down, and step into our authentic selves with greater clarity. So then, as these old structures dissolve, as the patriarchal aspects dissolve, it lets us lean into transformation with love, compassion, courage, and unity. We then shift into that unity consciousness. So it's a really powerful time, and this is where you have to recognize that, you know, the energy in the world, it can also, even though you might be processing sadness, or you might be feeling really joyful about the result, which it's not right, wrong, good or bad. There's an isness, but recognizing that, okay, is there anything being called for you to awaken to see with clearer eyes? Because again, the shift brings both challenges and opportunities. It's asking us to look within, to face our shadows, not only individually, but also collectively as a society, and question the narratives we've been taught. But remember, truth brings liberation. By embracing what's really real within us and around us, we free ourselves from illusions that no longer support us. So as old structures start to fall away, we want to lean into this change with love, courage, double down on that courage, compassion, and moving into unity consciousness. And we want to honor then the truths that are being revealed and use them as stepping stones to that brighter, more authentic world that you might feel in your heart that you know that can be here in the physical world. And so though this journey may feel uncertain, this is where then coming together in community is so important, whether it is online or in person, finding your communities and not finding your communities because, we're all alike here, but finding community just to be in support, to be able to process. Because I am someone who I've been in experiences where I felt like, "Oh, this is gonna be my community," and, we're all people talk about, "Oh, we're all like-minded." But then all of a sudden, you might be different in some ways, and then it could trigger people who are like, "Wow, you're not completely like us." So, the kind of community for me is a community that really is about mindfulness, caring, compassion, and recognizing that we have more in common in terms of being human and in our humanity. And then the things that we may be different on, can we then respect one another and be curious about, like, oh, what are you interested in? Oh, that's interesting. And allowing to hold space for yourself and others that we can be similar, but also choose different things because in terms of being here on the earth, there's many experiences that we can have here. And why are we going to want to limit ourselves and others? Why not be curious about like what somebody else is choosing and then hold space that they get the freedom of choice and be in a space of compassion for yourself and others and not be in violence that, oh, somebody's choosing differently than me, so then I can't, then that's it. Because you might have more in common than not with someone. And so we have to really lean more into care and compassion for ourselves and others. And so, again, even though this journey may feel uncertain, we're in this together. So, really holding space for yourself, for others, and for the world as we step into this new era, because that's going to be really important, more than ever. We're being called to hold on to our humanity and remember the power of love, especially in times like this. So, as divisive energies may continue to surface, more and more compassionate, loving people are finding each other. Communities of love are forming. So, with that, then this is then how something can be for the highest good, where hate is actually helping so many people, including me, to become louder with light love. I am tired of being silent, of letting hate win. I'm going to become louder about light love. And I also just want to say, y'all, I have had a fear of public speaking since I was a child, which I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on that. And I'm also an intuitive empath, which means my feeling ability and capability is high, where I just am such a feeling being, and my level of compassion is high. And so in so many ways, I've shared some things, but I've had to really overcome the whole public speaking. And I feel like this whole experience last week has really shifted something greater in me. I feel like my throat chakra got activated on a whole nother level. I feel like game on. I am ready to speak the truth about light love. I am ready to speak the truth about spirituality, energy work, being human, mindfulness. I am ready to speak the truth. And some of the elements of I had some protective measures in place regarding things. It just all dissolved. It all dissolved. It's like my throat chakra got activated on a whole nother level of like, this is it. This is one of the times that I am meant to be here in this physical world. And I had received a calling, earlier, this year in many different ways. One of it being my power positive word coming into this year was unstoppable. Unstoppable. And I thought it was for some other things, and now I realize, oh, it's for this moment and so many other moments. But unstoppable. Unstoppable in terms of really spreading the news about light love, really about us shifting into higher awareness and what it really means when people are talking about high vibrational 5D living, things like that, unity consciousness. And also it has really just from the calling, I I understood I was in a calling this summer as well, because when I got asked to do various things, you know in terms of the guides invited me in to do various things, I knew that there was an activation of a calling happening, and it felt very similar to when I was a young child. When I was 5 years old, I had just this knowingness coming in of what I was moving towards. That one day I was gonna move to California. I was gonna work in television. And I just had this strong guiding knowingness of, like, understanding the path that was unfolding for me. And so then I was able to then, I went to college to study. I studied communications, TV and film, and I did internship. Like, I understood the knowingness of the path that unfolded. And and then when my and working in television, then what happened was it was really for the training of this time, because that training in television, it helped me understand the patriarchy. It helped me understand where we are in the world. It also helped me understand in terms of, becoming the energy practitioner that I am, because oftentimes I would be utilizing, energy tools to clear sets, or, I would be in various different places around the world. And I would have to utilize, like, okay, let me reground, realign, recenter. I would use the tools again and again. And so it was like the perfect kind of, perfect opportunity for a training ground as an energy practitioner, because of how much not only I had to handle, but also how much I learned in terms of the world, because I was often in just various places around the world where I was meeting new people, understanding new cultures. And so that's where, then wherever you go, there you are in terms of what you're supposed to be called to learn, and what you are then in terms of, like, I look at it as like, wow, I was living, you know, a dream that I had as a child, and my knowing this, but it was so much more than that, because I was being trained for then this moment. And so then when I went into my actual career transition from working in television into full-time doing this work, private sessions as an energy practitioner and mindfulness meditation teacher, I then was working with people in individual experiences and understanding what I'd seen in reality TV in terms of group aspects. I was now working with people in individual. And then as I got my practice in terms of practice as a everyday practitioner in terms of private sessions, I started feeling things were shifting, yet I didn't have the clarity, because things were still being cleared and evolving. And then what's interesting is that I always wondered, am I going to have that moment of, like, knowingness like I had as a child at like 5, of, like, what my next mission is? I understood that I was on the path, but it's just this level of tangible, tactile knowingness. And last week, it just came through, where I was like, wow, I'm in the knowingness that I've been activated in the knowingness of what really the mission phase that I'm in next. And y'all, I tell you, this human experience is so many things. It's just brilliant in so many ways. And I know I work with a lot of people that, want to know, how can I make a difference? How can I make an impact? How can I understand my knowingness? And I'm sharing this with you because I know it can be so confusing, but that's where you have to also be in the patience and you have to be willing to keep showing up. Even if you're not quite sure the forest through the trees and it feels confusing, you understand, like, this is the path. Hold on, I gotta get a tissue. I now just leave the tissues next to me. Even though you're not quite sure of, like, what is my actual path, and I'm there can be training grounds. And so for me, when I was 5 and I had that, like, knowingness of, like, wow, I and there I got the orders. I understand my divine design in terms of, like, you know, where I'm going, what's happening. And then when I started getting the understanding and the calling that I was getting called to career change. Whew, y'all, that loss and grief I had because I didn't quite understand, like, but where am I going next? I don't get it. Like, what is happening here? Even though I had received information that I was going to go into becoming a full-time practitioner, it still wasn't, like, clear to me because I didn't have that quite, like, but where's that full knowingness feeling that I had when I was a child? I had to really trust. I had to surrender. I had to trust. I had to really let myself go into the understanding that this is happening for my highest good and I am on the path and I have to allow the patience to let it unfold, which I think sometimes in the human experience can be the most challenging part because you just want that knowingness. And so in these years that I've career transitioned, where I've done this full time, because even when I was working in television, I was doing this, like, part time, but not like full time like I did once I career transitioned. I like yes, like I understand, like, how many people that I've supported and have made changes, and I'm so grateful for that. But it's like, okay, but where am I in connection with, like, that kind of information I received when I was 5? And so that's where then patience comes in and continuing to show up, continuing to learn, grow, and evolve, and trusting that you're exactly where you need to be for your highest good and that it is unfolding, even if you don't understand why you're someplace or you're like, hmm, I have a little bit of, like, this isn't exactly what I expected in terms of making an impact, and ooh, I'm not sure this is, like, the right community or the right space for me. If you are there, there is something for you to learn for your highest good, and you have to really work with the human to get the human comfortable in that unknown space of being willing then to learn, grow, and evolve. And so also then understanding that all these different codes that have been coming in, these cosmic codes, they're supporting us in terms of awakening. And so the awakening might not happen immediately. It could be then in certain time frames. And so for me last week, that awakening, that throat chakra coming, whoo. And then also then recognizing, like, there was such a mass clearing that happened for me. And then within it, really going even deeper in and connecting to that moment of having the information being downloaded into the feeling of the knowingness. If I had had the knowingness information and feeling years ago when I career transitioned, I'm not sure I would have been fully ready to receive the information. And I don't know if I would have been really as grateful for it as I am. So that's where then the blessings come in, and that you're so protected in ways, like beneficially protected with love, not fear, love, because it's the unfolding for you that's happening. And so I'm just so grateful because I had to, like, this experience for me, I had to show up time and time again, understanding that, yes, it is, part of my path, and trusting, deeply trusting the process without that feeling of knowingness that I had as a child. And now putting that knowingness together with the trust, it is just unbelievable. I'm so grateful for it. And it doesn't mean that, we're all, I love TV and film, and so of course, as I'm pondering what as I'm saying something, I think about, I immediately thinking like, it doesn't mean that we're gonna be on easy street, and I connected that to Annie the musical. There's a song called Easy Street. Um, so I just have to have some levity with that because I'm now, like, in my head, I'm imagining Annie the musical and them doing that song and dance number, and it's just bringing so much joy just thinking about watching that musical. So y'all, it doesn't mean that we're gonna be on easy street. You can have moments of being on easy street, but living in this human experience is, like, super complicated and complex. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and there's things that we understand, and there's things that we just don't even have the capacity yet to understand in terms of consciousness. The only thing I do understand is to use tools, double down on the tools to support yourself in terms of clearing, grounding, aligning, and shifting and expanding your consciousness. And also know that there could be divisive energies that are continuing to surface. And with that, then use tools. And then more and more compassionate, loving people are finding each other. Communities of love are forming in terms of really shifting more so into unity consciousness. And that also knowing that, with this, hate is actually helping people to become louder with light love. So, in a way, this contrast is guiding us to stand even more strongly in love, in the energy of love, in the energy of mindfulness. It is a powerful reminder that even the energies that feel heavy can have a role to play in awakening us to deeper compassion, connection, and awakening us to elements of our divine design, our divine blueprint, our elements of, like, our awakening to the truth of who we are, awakening us to our mission points, awakening us to, our activations of, like, realizing, like, wow, I'm in knowingness. I'm okay. It's go time. It's go time. It is the game, the show is on. It's game time, people. Game time. And though it's not easy to say, but pain can be a beneficial teacher. Now, do we want to always be caught in the suffering to the point where it's completely, just demolishing us? No, we want to use tools to support ourselves clearing from that and bringing in the wisdom and shifting as soon as we are, ready for it. But with that, though, we can lean into the lessons it brings in regarding to pain, suffering. We can lean into the lesson and the wisdoms it brings. There, then, with that, then often space for growth and healing happens. That's where then, once you bring in the realization, light can come in to fill in the spaces for the highest good. So, wherever you are in this experience, allow yourself to feel whatever is coming up right now. All of it is valid. And it's okay to acknowledge that things are challenging, that things may feel heavy, that things feel, you might feel scared. You might also feel confused. You might be happy about the results. And if you are happy about the results, I will say to you, though, I will ask you to also lean in to mindfulness, to also question, why are so many people sad and scared? You might also feel really drained. Maybe you're somebody who is, an empath, a highly sensitive person, and you can feel your individual experience and also the collective aspects. This is where you got to use your tools. Use your tools to clear, rejuvenate, refresh your energy, refresh your life force energy. So, no matter where you are, really learning to have compassion for yourself and others, and recognizing that this really isn't like, I think sometimes in the US we can get really caught up, especially in terms of the patriarchy, competitiveness where, if a Super Bowl or a World Series, my team versus your team, and then my team wins, your team loses. Y'all, this isn't like that, because we're all one country in the US. So it's not like one side's winning, one side's losing. It is like we're all gonna go through this experience. It's not right, wrong, good or bad. There's an isness. And in the isness, we want to just recognize that, you know, and be in question, like, what's really going on here, and bring more consciousness to it. And then use your tools, my friends. This is where practice comes in. Practicing mindfulness meditation, energy work, using somatic tools in terms of also using nervous system tools, regrounding, realigning, whatever tools resonate. Practice your tools, my friends, because that is going to support you even greater, leaning into compassion and care for yourself and others, and also just processing your feelings, where if any confusion, sadness, anger, anything that's coming up, loss and grief, process it, and let the wisdom come in when you're ready, and then let yourself shift when you're ready as well. So allow yourself to feel whatever's coming up right now. All of it is valid, and it's okay to acknowledge that things are challenging. Use your tools, and remember, there might be lessons unfolding. Not all of them also are your lessons to learn. It's kind of like, I know some people talk about the dark night of the soul. I actually think it's more regarding um, aspects of the human, that the human is unfolding, but that's like a whole nother podcast episode. But in terms of that, you could look at it as like dark night of like the collective US soul, if you will, kind of, just to kind of give that terminology, but it's not quite right in terms of terminology, but just to kind of give it some sort of tangible aspect. But with that, though, it doesn't mean that it could be certain aspects of people, but it might not be for everyone's lessons. And so it could be then certain aspects of the shadow side that is being called to be recognized and cleared, and then also allowing light to come in. But while there might be lessons unfolding, not all of them are yours to learn. So while there might be lessons unfolding, not all of them are your lessons to learn. You may be simply called to hold the light. So you might be being called to hold the light, and all these years of practice in terms of, the work that you've been doing, you're now being called to hold the light. That might literally be your job, is to be a clear channel and hold the light. So even though you're in a situation or an experience that's happening in the collective, it might not be your individual experience. So there might be lessons unfolding in the collective, but not all of them are yours to learn because you may have already learned and carried wisdom within it, which then allows you to expand consciousness to hold the light, to be a clear channel to hold the light. So, my friends, just continue taking care of yourself and, make sure to use your tools, take care of yourself, self-care, self-love, and, lean into those practices that support you. And then just remember, compassion for yourself and others. And with that, if you need any support, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to, leave a comment, leave a message on where you are. If you want to privately, DM me, you can find me on social media at inspiringyou.co. Just know that you are supported, that you are so loved and cared for, even if it feels challenging. You are so loved. And with that, let's just take a moment right now where I am going to do a Reiki send. So if you wish to receive Reiki, say, yes, I'd like to receive Reiki for my highest good. If you don't, that's okay. You can still do this meditation. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, breathing in life force energy, breathing out what no longer supports you. Breathing in life force energy, breathing out what no longer supports you, following your breath in, following your breath out. And then we're going to invite Reiki energy healing in, asking to let go of ego, personal intellect, step aside, become a clear channel, so the holy fire Reiki energy coming through. And then asking whomever wishes to receive Reiki, let Reiki be sent to them, also to situations and to maternal lineages, the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, Mother Earth. If they wish to receive Reiki, let it be sent for the highest good. Thank you. And we're just going to do a Reiki send right here. Asking to clear any exhaustion, tiredness, clear any kind of fatigue, sadness, disappointment, loss, and grief. Clear any kind of feeling of being drained, any kind of burnout, any loss and grief. Any kind of the nervous system is dysregulated, asking to clear the dysregulation, clear anything that's blocking grounding and alignment, asking for the light to fill in the spaces for the highest good, to rebalance all the chakras, meridians, nadis, bodies, regrounding, realigning, shifting from 3D to 5D or higher if it's beneficial for them, for the highest good and gratitude. Thank you. Letting yourself now see, sense, imagine, visualize a beautiful white light infused with Reiki energy healing, moving through you, around you, clearing, cleansing, releasing, rejuvenating, revitalizing, letting the light fill in the spaces for the highest good. Take a nice deep breath now. See how you're feeling. Maybe you feel a little bit lighter. However it is, just take a note. You want to note any kind of shift. And then before we go, let's just break the links. I asked to break the links with this mindful chat. I asked to break the links with this meditation, with this Reiki send. I asked to break the links, leaving only harmony and balance at either ends. I also asked to clear any residual energies being held in my body as a result of these links. I ask the light fill all the void cells, rejuvenates, refreshes, revitalizes for the highest good with ease and grace in gratitude. In gratitude, may peace with all of